This video will explore a law. Everything inside of us affects our outer world. It affects the outside. And everything outside of us affects the inside. Right? So when we think a thought, it affects something out there. When we feel a feeling, it affects something out there. When we develop a belief, it affects something out there. When we imagine something in here, it affects something out there. When we set a goal in here, it affects something out there. And vice versa. When we have an interaction with another human being out there, it affects something in here, etc., etc. So, as above, so below, as within, so without. This idea, this truth, is something I've heard many times. Maybe you've heard it many times, but what does it actually mean? And what are the mechanics? Well, this leads us to a deeper truth, which is there is no difference between what's out there and what's in here. It's part of a cycle. In here and out there are part of a cycle. What goes on in here affects what goes out there, and what goes on out there affects what's going on in here, right? The inhale is inextricably connected with the exhale, right? If I think something, believe something, feel something, I'm going to do something. And what I do is going to affect out there. But it's not just that I'm going to do something. The thought, the belief, the map of reality, and the feeling is part of the doing, right? There's no separation. I think that, but I don't take any action. Right? Well, first of all, as we look at this deeper truth, that the inner and the outer are part of a cycle, in other words, they are interconnected. There's no division between them. If we look at that idea, at that truth, right? Well, first of all, we look at this illusionary separation of inner and outer in a very pragmatic way. There's a noise. Sounds like a road sweeper going by. That's supposedly out there. But the moment I heard that noise about 10 seconds ago, first of all, my body became anxious because I have a memory of a pattern, of an idea, right? Of trying to be perfect, of trying to be, and that road sweeper is outside of my control, number one. But two, as it's coming in, what is it? Is that really a road sweeper? Is it going to interrupt the whole video? What should I do? Should I stop the video? You see, those thoughts are changing my physiology. My shoulders tightened slightly. My neck, right here, tightened slightly. So that was a thought. That was a series of ideas from something out there, a road sweeper, which is in some ways just another idea, right? I didn't see a road sweeper, right? It didn't sweep me. It just, that's my narrative. That's my story about what went on. And so that's that little sound out there that you may or may not have heard at its full intensity before it faded away. That sound affected my physiology. It affected my thoughts. It affected my feelings. And it affects you here, right? The video you're watching is different because of a road sweeper. And how is it different? Well, we have something out there stimulating stuff that is supposedly in here that then affects the body that's supposedly out there. That then, noticing all that stuff going on, which is supposedly in here, I talk, which is supposedly out there, right? And then, here it comes again, it's making another pass on the other street, right? And then that physiology and those words then affect your thoughts, which affect your feelings, which affect your physiology. Right? Which affects your thoughts and your feelings again. And the sound of a road sweeper has migrated through time, right? As I'm making this in my time, but you're listening in your time. So how are these things separate if they are inextricably linked? If a road sweeper can travel through time, if a road sweeper can travel through thoughts and feelings into the body, from the body into words, from words into more thoughts and feelings, from thoughts and feelings back into the body, and travel through time and do that in an infinite number of ways, where's the separation between the inner and the outer? They're just words, right? They're not actually separate. We've decided, we've taken the uninterrupted whole, the interconnected ecology, we've cut them in pieces, right? That's inner, that's outer. We say, through the illusion of language, we create, right? So let's dig into this a little more as the dreaded road sweeper comes in for another pass, right? Right? Now, what is that, right? The dreaded road sweeper, right? This is also how the outer affects the inner. I had to learn those words from the outer. Now they affect the inner. A culture taught me those words. And a culture taught me how to phrase those words. Right? The dreaded. It's not the fearful, it's the dreaded, right? See, that's a cult pattern right there. And I learned those in traditional fiction literature. You know, I was reading Dickens and Jane Austen and Arthur Conan Doyle in my teens, etc. And somewhere in that mix, I learned this term, the dreaded, which is the same thing happening again. You're being influenced by Arthur Conan Doyle, an idea that you've never met, but that went from inside someone to outside someone, right? There was a time when Conan Doyle didn't exist as an idea. Then he was given a name by someone out there. But he emerged out of a woman, right? From somewhere inside, he came outside. And an idea inside the parents of Mr. and Mrs. Doyle, right? Let's name him Arthur Conan. Why? Why not Cannon? Why not Colby? Arthur Colby Doyle. What? It was an idea. Where? In here. Right? But that idea didn't just start inside. It began with traditions, with patterns of names, where you can visit cults or cultures around the globe and you can see, well, this cult uses these names and these consonants and these sounds. That's a cult somewhere that they use that sound. I don't know what to call it, right? Because in my cult, we don't use that sound. Yeah. But why not? Because cults do what they do because they do what they do, and that's why they do what they do, right? If you're going to cut reality into pieces, which is what we do with language, right? We create the illusion of distinction and separation out of the reality of the uninterrupted whole. And having cut reality into pieces, hopefully useful pieces, we then proceed to give them a name. And we can make up whatever name we want. We can use sign language. We can use drawing language. We can use gestures of the arms or gestures of the fingers, right? We like to be efficient, and so we like to use fingers, and then it's even easier to just use sound to project a symbol that we make up in here, but then starts to affect things out there. Because depending on how we cut reality up, we assemble it in different ways, right? If we cut a car down into atoms, we have to assemble it atomically. If we cut it in half, we have to, use a giant machine to, weld the halves back together again and solder and all that. But if we unbolt it, then we have to bolt it together again. But these are ideas: bolts, weldings, cuttings, in half, in quarters. Why not in thirds? Well, it's a different language. It's a different idea. So what does this mean in a useful term, right? It means that whatever we've got a hold of, wherever our consciousness resides, we can begin to transform reality, which is to transform ourselves, which is to transform reality. Right? Reality is synthesized within the lens that views it. That lens is composed of sensation, it's composed of thoughts, it's composed of beliefs. Now, why a belief and a thought? How did we cut up reality along those lines, along these lines? And that's important, right? Because when we cut something up, we do so with lines. And so it's important to clarify. It's along these lines, this means this and this means that, right? You take the uninterrupted whole, you divide it into two, right? Then having established that line, we probably create some parallel lines, some gradients, right? Then some counterpoints, right? And along these lines, this emerges into awareness, right? Awareness on the foundation of consciousness along these lines. But what if we just get rid of these lines and cut reality up a different way, right? Let's cut it up this way. And rather than inches, let's cut it into cinches, which are smaller than inches, right? Let's cut it into these lines. And then along these lines, we arrive here at another set of language. But along these lines, we arrive somewhere else. So we cut reality through the illusion of language into the illusion of pieces that we can then assemble along certain lines. The line of an idea, right? Where does the idea come from? It comes from stringing together a certain number of words. If I string this word together and this and this and this and this and this and this and this, then I now have a line of thought. Because you cannot think a thought without a word as its foundation, without a series of words. Table is not a thought. It's just a sound, right? But if you think of a flat surface with four legs, that sound, table, is supported by A, number, just one of them, A, flat, something like that. Surface, something that's a flat surface, right? An outer edge with three or four legs, a three-legged or four. Now you have words associated with words. Now you have a map. It's just a linkage of words, right? If you decide on a 10-based number system, and why not a 56-based number system? You just count up to 56 and then repeat. Or a 57-based number system. Well, those are different lines of thought. Right? Thought follows the line of language, which means that consciousness follows the line of thought, which follows the line of language. Where does it come from, right? How do we decide that this is a 1 rather than a sun? And that this is a 2, right? And this is a 3, and this is a 4, and this is a 5, right? Well, it's repetition. It's where the cult in culture establishes a common set of symbols, a common reference point, so that we can relate consciously, right? But that's all along that line of thought, right? If we decide that reality is triangular, and we draw the line that way, and we give different symbols, well, we end up in a different place following a different line of thought. Right? So reality comes into focus, emerges through the lens that views it. The lens of sensation, the lens of thought, the lens of feeling, emotion. What's the difference between a feeling and an emotion, by the way? And if you ask someone in your room that question, if you ask 10 people at this moment in time in this particular cult, what's the difference between a feeling and an emotion? Will there be coherence if you ask them all to write it down and read the answers? Well, give it a shot. What's the difference between a feeling and an emotion? Why do we have two words for them? Right? Well, we can look at root words. We can look at things like feel. I feel something, like that feels hot. It's a feeling, feel, sensation. Well, it's very close to sensation, isn't it? Because there really isn't any difference. If you feel angry, your body will have different sensations. And if you feel joy. Right? So what's the difference between a feeling and a sensation if they go hand in hand? If you cannot have one without the other. Emote, motion, right? There's feelings and there's emote, energy, motion, right? Where is that coming from? Emotion, feeling. I feel something. I feel happy. I feel hot. We say the hot is out there and the happy is in here. But if I feel happy, my body feels differently than if I feel sad. And if I feel hot, if I touch a hot stove, I have different feelings. than if I touch a warm, slippery body, right? I feel differently on the inside and the outside. So what happens out there affects what's going on in here, and what's going on in here affects what's going on out there. And we all have a common purpose. We all have a shared goal. We're all driven biologically, psychologically. Our primary drive, what organizes our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior, our cult or culture, is feeling sustainably better while consuming less energy. Feeling sustainably better while consuming less energy. If I can run a mile for a Haagen-Dazs, that's great. But if I can only run half a mile for a Haagen-Dazs, well, that's even better, right? Now, how do you know that? Well, give 1,000 people the opportunity to get a Haagen-Dazs or to get something, cough medicine, right? Or you can eat lemon peel or you can eat a Haagen-Dazs. You all get to decide, right? And 1,000 people, how many people are going to choose the lemon peel? And why, right? There's probably room for one person to choose the lemon peel and be special, right? Which feels better than not being special, right? Because everyone's going to want to talk, why did you choose the lemon peel? Well, because you're all going to talk to me, obviously, right? I feel special, right? So that's more important to me than, a little indigestion. So everyone's going to choose the Haagen-Dazs, and then you say, well, you can get a Haagen-Dazs if you run that way. The Haagen-Dazs is half a mile away, or you can go that way, and it's a mile away, right? Or you can go right here, and it's just 3 feet away. What are you going to pick, right? Everyone wants to feel sustainably better, and so some people might think, is there something more nutritious, a salad? Right? But if the choice is lemon peel and Haagen-Dazs, right, and as it is, because we've just made it up, right, like most things. If the choice is between lemon peel and Haagen-Dazs, well, we're going to pick the Haagen-Dazs. And if it's a really beautiful walk, well, why don't we pick the Haagen-Dazs that's 3 feet away and go on the walk with the Haagen-Dazs? So that's intelligence right there, right? People are intelligent. They do what they believe, what they think, what they feel, what they've experienced is going to make them feel better. And they do it as efficiently as possible. Now, when people do things, as we all do, very inefficiently, it's because there's multiple juggling things. Like a child might say, give me the food. And the parent hits them on the head or says, no, we don't do that in this family. We offer other people the food. So the child's basically, they were trying to get it efficiently, right? I want the biggest piece, and I want it right now, right? That's intelligent. But the culture is saying, no. You'll get more rewards in the long term if you are a sophisticated, well-mannered child who says, well, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, and if everyone else has had all the pieces they could possibly imagine, and if nobody would mind, well, perhaps I could be so bold as to have a piece of this pie. And everyone says, oh, what a well-mannered person, right? So there's a reward for all that stupidity, right? Right? Because it was the kid that was smart, right? I want some pie, right? I want it right now, right? Immediately. This is great, exciting, enthusiasm, no depression there, right? But it gets tiring to take the most circuitous, cult-sanctioned route, First, you have to learn manners. Why? Well, because otherwise we're going to shame you. Okay, I guess I'll learn manners. Then you're going to go to school. Why? Right? Why do I have to do that? I can play here, right? No. You can't just enjoy yourself or ride on a goat or something. No, you have to go off so that you can prepare. For what? For what? What? To get a job? Well, I don't want a job. No. You've got to have a job. Why? So that at the end of your life, when you're decrepit, when you're old, when you're tired, right? When you've lost any sense of connection, then you can enjoy yourself. Then I can do whatever I want? Yes. All you have to do is control yourself for the next 65 years, doing things you don't want to do, and then you can do whatever you want, right? I just want the pie right now. No, that's not what the cult says, right? The cult says do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this, and this, and then this, so then you can do what you want to do, right? So why? Right? Why? Well, because that's what we do. Because that's what we do. And that's what we do because that's what we've always done, right? Then, but we're all driven to feel sustainably better as efficiently as possible, right? And using language, cutting the world into bits, is more efficient than going and doing things in person. So we're trying to change something. We're trying to change our experience, which is part of reality, and reality is part of our experience, towards grace, towards feeling sustainably better with little or no energy, with little or no effort at all, right? Meanwhile, the cult or culture is trying to maintain the status quo, to maintain order, where we can look out and say, that's a German, that's an American, that's a this, that's a that. We want things organized and we want things to have continuity. Because what would happen if we didn't have all that, right? This is the way things are done in this family, right? It's not done because this is the most graceful or the most beautiful or the most knowledgeable or the most intelligent or the most free or the most happy. It's the way. That's how you know you're in a cult. This is the way. What about all those other ways? What about this? What about changing the family? No, we're not doing that. You're going to learn how to be miserable like the rest of us. Why? Because then when you retire, you can be happy. Well, these retired people don't look very happy. No, we don't talk about that, right? No, that's not how we do things, right? We don't question stupidity. We don't look at the obvious. We follow the dogma. I thought dogma was for dogs. Yeah, well, we don't talk about that either, right? We follow the dogma. So we all want to feel sustainably better. We want to avoid feeling chronically worse. And so we do that following our cult. That's the default mode of the child. Maybe rebelling and doing the antithesis, right? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to dye my hair blue. I'm going to lay around. I'm going to break things. I'm not going to earn anything, grow anything. I'm not going to do anything, right? We try and figure out how to create a reality of grace, a reality in this infinite world of energy where there's an infinite amount of energy. I mean, we just couldn't possibly begin to deal with all the energy out there, but how can I master the art of turning time, money, natural resources into sustainable well-being? That's what we're trying to do. And so what this law suggests, knowing it's all interconnected, is that wherever we're aware of, maybe we're aware of our own thoughts and feelings, our own beliefs, well, then we can start changing. We can start iterating. We can start refining. our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs. Maybe we're in a state of ignorance. That's our state, ignorance. What are you feeling? I don't know. Why did the TV flicker like that? I don't know. So we're in a state of ignorance, and our reality is a reflection of us and as fractal representations, as cult members of fractal representations of a larger culture, of an ignorant cult. Like, you don't get ignorant individuals coming out, it just popped out of nowhere, right? That's the story with the Big Bang. It just popped out of nowhere. Just no particular reason. Nothing was there. Then there it was, right? You just came out of nowhere. It has nothing to do with your family history, your intergenerational abuse cycles. Just popped out, right? Randomly, for no particular reason, and you just got depressed, or you just don't want to know what's going on inside for no particular reason, right? Don't ask, don't tell. No, you're a fractal member. So if you're ignorant and in a state of ignorance about this and about that and about this and about that, well, you look around you and you will find lots of ignorant people who are ignorant about this and ignorant about that, right? So if you change that dynamic, where you're no longer ignorant about this and that, then the outer world is going to change. Is it going to change for the better, though? Right? And here we have to understand system theory a little bit, right? Because we all share the interconnected whole, the one, all that is, right? But that's too big for us to deal with, right? So we need to cut it into pieces called words, and I'm going to cut it into triangles. But those are some hard turns, right? Try driving a triangular race route. Oh, it's so nice on the flat areas, but then you get to these little concave, little tight turns, and cars spin out and crash into the walls, or have to go really, really slow and do a 3-point turn. It's very awkward, right? So we're in a network, though, right? We all built this road. We're in a network of thought, a network of ideas, a network of currency, a network of language. We're in a network. But, these turns are just killing us. So literally, we're going to make a new system. You notice that this system, while it has one more turn, none of them are quite as sharp as the triangular turns. It's a new system. But we're the only one in this system, right? It's a better system because, it's easier to make these turns than to make the turns before. And frankly, it's even easier, right? If we can create a network like this is a much better system. These are turns that we can actually manage when we come. And, if we can move even, a little bit more, this loop, oh, it's wonderful, right? There's just no markers. There's no areas to get a hold of it. So we've got to break it down into some kind of a system with words. So this is a better system. But nobody wants to change. Why? Because we have a lot of history of change going awry. When you change, you enter the unknown. When you enter the unknown, sometimes it ends very badly, and sometimes it ends very well. It's unknown, right? That's what makes it but I don't want it to end badly, right? But you can't enter the unknown then. Okay, I'll just stay exactly the way we've always been, and I'll fight predators, people that want to change things. I'll fight them because they're taking us into the unknown and we could die. Yeah. So you've now got a better system, but nobody's on your network. So who's going to maintain the road, right? Who's going to design the car for that system, right? Who's going to collect the tolls, right? Because you're a system of one. So maybe we better go back to the old messed up system of these tight turns. It's not working very well. It's clearly poorly designed, but everyone's on the network, right? And whether it's in these social networks, their value comes from how many people are on them. It's not from the intelligence of the design. So we all start with the one. We're all part of a system. And as we dissociate from our network, from our cult or culture, become a cult or culture of one, we can easily realize 1,000% efficiency in increased intelligent design. But what if we lose coherence? Nobody can understand us. Nobody knows the vocabulary. Nobody knows the dance move. It's a better dance, but nobody knows the moves, right? Now we have to become educators. Well, it's a lot of work to become an educator, to be an early pioneer. Many die, and others, even though the system is so graceful once you learn it, teaching 1 million people to learn it, you could be working twice as hard as the average person in the old corrupt system, in the faulty system. So you have to weigh, you have to balance these things, right? But we all want the same thing. So if you work with something, take the area of ignorance and become more knowledgeable, become traumatically illiterate. Well, you've already done that. You're part of the local culture. So become traumatically literate. Become parentally literate. Become emotionally literate, right? Infuse awareness and notice as you diverge from the norm of unconsciousness. Is your personal reality getting better? Is it getting worse? Why, right? Is it because you're the only person on the new network? Right? You've got a telephone, you've got a fax machine, and you're the only one in the world. It's a brilliant technology. Look at all the horses it saves, right? Galloping along, going to deliver this letter by horse, right? No, here's a fax. But there's no one on the other side to receive the fax. It's tough, isn't it? Right? Everything that exists in the outer world affects everything that exists in the inner world. That's a law, because that's part of a deeper law, that they are each part of a cycle, which is part of a deeper awareness that they are interconnected. And what that means is that you can pick anything that you can work with, anything, any pattern of energy that's in your life, emotionally, mentally, physically. You can work with it directly, or it's like, I don't know what to do with this shame. Okay, change your body. I feel shame. Okay, I get it. Change your body. Stand up. Go for a run. How does that affect the shame? Right? Or, I don't want to move. I don't want to get out of bed. Okay, right? You're stuck there. Change the imagery. Imagine a different future that's worth getting out of bed for. Now all these chemicals are released and I have energy to get out of bed, right? So you can work with any part of reality by working with any other part of reality. And we always have a handle on something. We always have our hands on some area of reality. Oh, that bastard. How could she, that bastard. We have our hand, so that's what our handle is on, right? Well, what if we could say, how could that bastard, blah, 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 and then imagine a riverside, right? Now go back to the bastard, right? Because that's going to come anyway, right? And a riverside, right? Oh, this dumb riverside. Let's just focus on, well, that's the handle, right? That's the bit to where you can focus on, right? Wherever your attention is locked in, is held in place, that's the area you can begin to iterate the design. And if you can't, right? I can't work with this. This leads to that leads to that leads to that, and that leads to that, and I'm in a loop, right? Okay, go for a run, right? Now the loop gets smaller with perspective, right? Now it's gotten smaller. Now I can work with it because it's small. It's everything. How could that be, right? Go for a run, right? Do yoga. Jump up and down and laugh. Here's a good one. This is really fun. See if you can find a pencil or a pen somewhere. Something like this shape. Got it? Okay. Watch this. Physiology changes feelings. It's incredible. Physiology changes feelings. If you will put a pencil in your mouth, it doesn't matter if nothing is funny on TV. Energy lightens up. Your body thinks there's something funny because that's the shape it makes when something's funny. So you put your body in that shape, you stand up, you go for a run, you do different things like this, your feelings change. I don't know how I could have gotten to that laugh with my mind. There's nothing really that funny to think about, like, oh, that's, I'm not, a pen in my mouth, right? That's the path towards more sustainable well-being. So you work with what you can. And you track, this is what you track with your mind. Am I moving closer to sustainable well-being with less energy? Sustainable means, it's very little energy to put cocaine in, right? You just put a little cocaine in. It didn't take too much, right? One arm, powder, whatever. Put some coke, right? And then later you put some more cocaine in. Very little energy. It's just a very short life, right? It's not very sustainable, right? Very sustainable to think about exercising and not exercise. Again, in the short term, it seems like it helps, but right, we're looking for sustainable well-being. So does it seem like what I'm doing is going to create a brighter future? Well, that's sustainable well-being right there. Am I doing the most intelligent thing to create a better future? Right? There's this thing I could be doing that would change my whole life, and it would just take 5 minutes. I just ask her to marry me or put some money into a retirement fund. Just nothing, right? Just 5 minutes, it would change my whole life, right? There's this other thing that I'd have to work at, and there's a 1 in 10 chance that it would succeed in the next 10 years. So it would really be disciplined. That's not sustainable well-being. A 1 in 10 chance. Don't play at that casino, right? Play with odds that are in your favor, right? And invest in commodities. Futures, right? Commodities futures. 80% of people lose money in commodities futures. I'm going to invest in real estate. 80% of people make money in real estate and get to enjoy their home while they're doing it, right? So pick the areas that you're likely to win, right? Pick intelligent areas, things that give you high yields in sustainable well-being where you're likely to win. Do more of those, right? And track it. That's what your mind is there to track. Right? If I do this, my well-being goes up sustainably. Am I doing it? Why? Why am I not doing it? Oh, I am afraid of this and this happening. I don't want anyone to think that I think I'm better than them, right? So I'm not doing any of these things. Why? Because I don't want to feel attacked by people close to me, right? So I'm trying to get sustainable well-being through acceptance by mediocre people of a mediocre reality that I'm not going to shift anything, right? Mediocre just means medium, normal, right? I don't want to be exceptional, right? Well, then you just look at your average statistics. That's what normal is, your average statistics. How many people in your cult are depressed? 20%. How many people in your cult are fat? 20%. How many people in your cult have satisfying relationships? Probably less than 20%, right? So if you want to be normal, you just enjoy those odds, right? You can be unhappy, unfulfilled, destroy your planet because 80% of people are consuming more resources, cutting down more trees per person than they're planting, that are able to grow. Let's do that. Let's just breathe more congested air with each generation. It's not sustainable though, right? But it's normal, right? But I'll just do what other people are doing. Right? The normal isn't bad if you can't think, right? Because it's better than nothing, right? But intelligence, right? If you're trying to get a handle, if you're trying to grow, you have to get better than average, better than normal, right? If you want to be normal, just copy what everyone else is doing and live in that statistical probability field. But if you want to get better than normal, you have to do something. And evolution relies, meaning 99% of all species have died. 99% of all energy patterns that have ever existed are now dead. We're part of the 1% that's here, that's alive. But in another trillion years, 99% of all the energy forms that we know of today will be dead, replaced with more intelligent forms of energy. And will we be part of that, or will we be part of the 99% that is extinct, that isn't useful to evolution? Well, a lot of that is whether we follow the herd. The herd is the 99% that goes extinct, because it has a place, but it outlives its purpose, its place, because it's not changing, it's not evolving, it's not iterating to something better. Enjoy.